Are we starting to see a decline in LeBron James? Let's get into this. The Phoenix Suns recently just beat the Los Angeles Lakers in the first round, and for LeBron James, that's his first time ever losing in a first round playoff series. Of course, a big reason why the Lakers lost this series to the Phoenix Suns was the fact that Anthony Davis was hurt and also LeBron wasn't 100% either. But either way, obviously LeBron wasn't able to take his team over the top. Even though they didn't have Anthony Davis, he has done it in the past with the Cleveland Cavaliers with a very depleted roster and just a roster that had no business making the NBA Finals that season. So LeBron has proven that he could be able to do something like that where he takes his team to the next level and takes them farther than they really should. He really proved that throughout his whole NBA career, I should say. But in this playoff series, he just wasn't able to do with the Lakers. And after this first round playoff series loss for LeBron James and the Lakers, now a lot of people are starting to ask the question, are we starting to see a decline in LeBron James? Now, decline or no decline, either way, there's no other way of slicing it. The basketball that this guy has been playing this season and throughout the past couple of seasons is absolutely amazing. We're talking about a guy who's 36 years old and is still putting up stats like 25 points per game, 7.7 rebounds per game, and 7.8 assists per game. Somewhat close to a triple-double every single game, and we're talking about a guy who's 36 years old. So even if his numbers are inflated, whatever, it's still very impressive, the numbers that he's putting up at 36 years old. And by the way, we're not talking about a guy who went from a superstar level that LeBron is at to a guy who completely fell off and is not even an all-star anymore. LeBron James is still 100% a superstar, but the question of the video is, did he fall off or decline slightly from where his peak was? I think the answer to that question is multiple parts, but to answer that in short, I would definitely say, at least to some extent, we have seen a little bit of a decline in LeBron James. But let's quickly take LeBron's game point by point, even at this stage of his career, just to tell you how special this guy is. So maybe the best ability that LeBron has, and the reason why he's still a superstar in my opinion, is his passing ability. I mentioned this in a lot of my videos when I talk about guys who are just supreme passers and one of the best passers in the league, which LeBron is. They just have that ability to see plays before they happen. Very few players have this ability. Maybe Lonzo Ball, LaMelo Ball, Chris Paul, obviously LeBron. There's very few players in the NBA that have this ability, but LeBron is definitely one of the best at it out of all those players. One of the best abilities you can have as a superstar player is to make the teammates around you better. Because now as a superstar player, you don't have to work as hard to get your own buckets offensively and be a little bit inefficient if you were to do so, and just trust your teammates and they can help you throughout the game. But also when you get in pressure situations in the clutch, when you're getting doubled or maybe even triple teamed because the opposing team thinks that you're going to take that final shot, you have that ability to kick out to your wide open teammates for threes, and now you trust them because you made them better by giving them wide open shots all game and getting their confidence up throughout the game. So then in that pressure situation, they would be more likely to hit that shot. So LeBron definitely covers his playmaking and passing ability and the ability to make the teammates around him better. I think he's probably the best player in the league at that. And even if we are seeing a decline in LeBron James slowly, I think the ability and the fact that LeBron is such a great passer and makes the teammates around him so much better will prolong his career for sure and prolong the time that he's still a superstar in this league. Because when you're passing effectively and getting your teammates wide open shots, now you don't have to work as hard on offense to get an open shot for yourself, and you're saving more energy, and that really adds up possession after possession. And especially when you're talking about a guy who's 36 like LeBron is and plays the amount of minutes and the amount of games that LeBron does throughout the season, it's really going to help him out a tremendous amount. But moving on to the next ability of LeBron James, obviously is his finishing and driving ability. We all see the highlights even till this day. At 36 years old, LeBron still posterizes many people in this league a decent amount of times per year, even at this age. So I wouldn't necessarily say that LeBron has lost a lot of athleticism, if any, because he could still get his head over all the way up to the rim and dunk over people, as we've seen. And also, besides the posterizing dunks, he also uses his muscle and aggressiveness to get all the way to the basket and just finish with layup. And even if he's getting fouled, LeBron is known for getting N1s on those. He just uses strength and muscle. But now let's move on to one part of LeBron's game that's actually been improved throughout the years, which is his shooting ability. When LeBron first came into the league, and even when he was on the Miami Heat, he was known as a guy who can get to the basket very effectively, as well as a great passer. But one thing that he really struggled with was his shooting ability. Throughout the years in Miami, he's definitely gotten better throughout the years, but either way, he wasn't necessarily a good shooter. But ever since he got into the Lakers and a little bit with the Cleveland Cavaliers, he's really been working on his shooting ability, and that's something you typically see with super athletic guys. Later on in their career, they eventually start to work on their jump jump shot when they're not able to get to the basket as effectively. I'm not saying that's the case for LeBron, but I'm just saying in general that's usually the thing that happens, and you definitely saw that with LeBron in the sense that he improved his jump shot a tremendous amount. We see LeBron pull up from crazy ranges, and sometimes he's not necessarily the best percentage shooter from those areas, but just the fact that he extended his range out there is pretty crazy to see where he came from in the league. When in the beginning of his career on the Cleveland Cavaliers, that was one of his biggest struggles, was his three-point shooting, and now the fact that he's shooting from so deep behind the three-point line, even though it's not a great percentage, as I said, it's still pretty crazy to watch, and he definitely upped his three-point shooting percentages in general. So it's really good to see, even if LeBron James could still get to the basket, which he still can, and he can still dunk over people, he still has that athleticism, but either way, he's still getting older, and it's good to see that as he's getting older, he's been improving his jump shot. But you may be asking now, I just pointed out every point of LeBron James's offensive game, and I praise the fact that he can still get to the basket and dunk over people, and LeBron still has that athleticism. So you may ask, why do I think this guy's declining if I just mentioned that he still has that same athleticism? I think the thing with LeBron James is we've seen for the past few years now, during the regular season, he really conserves his energy, which is smart for him to do at the age he was at. So when he got to the playoffs, he can really put his foot on the gas pedal and really try his heart out on the defensive end, on the offensive end, every part, get to the basket, and really just perform very effectively in the NBA playoffs and finals if he were to get there. But we saw something different this season. Very similar to Derrick Rose, obviously there's flashes where LeBron's able to get his same athleticism and dunk over people, and I'm not saying necessarily that he lost his athleticism altogether, but I will say he's getting fatigued a lot more easy, I guess you could say. The same thing with Derrick Rose is why I wanted to mention that, is we saw in Derrick Rose in the playoffs, especially in this playoff series versus the Atlanta Hawks, obviously D-Rose is past his prime, but we saw that ability flash a few times where D-Rose was able to use that same quickness to get to the basket, that same athleticism to do up and under layups in the air, just soaring through the air like he used to back in his Chicago Bulls days, but that's not consistent. He still has it, but it's just not consistent, and he runs out of gas. And I feel like we kind of are starting to see that with LeBron James in this playoff series, where he just started to run out of gas a little bit. And does that mean that LeBron's going to retire? He's going to completely fall off? He's going to retire next season? Obviously not. LeBron still has a few years left in him, but I'm just starting to see the fact that LeBron has been running out of gas in the playoffs, which is something that we really haven't seen prior. And I understand this playoff series, Anthony Davis is hurt, and a lot more of the load had to go on LeBron's shoulders. But either way, in every single playoff series before this, we have seen LeBron take his game to the next level in the playoff series. And even if he lost, he still gave it all, everything he had out there. And this season, I just feel like he looked a little gassed out there. Just something to note. But is LeBron still a superstar? 100% yes. Is LeBron a top 5 player in the NBA? 100% yes, even at this age. And even if he is declining slightly. And also, we have been seeing LeBron a little more injured than we have in the past, at least for the past few seasons now, ever since he got to the Lakers. And that's something that LeBron has never had to face. He's never really been injured throughout his whole career. And the past few seasons, ever since he got to the Lakers, we saw this guy have a bunch of injuries. So that's telling you that he's getting older and starting to decline, at least slightly in that regard as well. But of course, LeBron is still a superstar, as I mentioned multiple times in this video. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think LeBron is declining at least slightly, or do you think LeBron isn't declining whatsoever? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe and hit that post notification bell to see more videos like this. Until next time, peace out, guys.